Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to talk about everything that you need to know if you want to start a bullet journal. Basically, in this video, I'm going to talk about bullet journaling for beginners and what you should know and the things you should do and how you should start a bullet journal. But before I get into this video, I need to talk about today's sponsor, PDFelement. PDFelement is a PDF editor software by Wondershare that lets you edit, annotate, and convert PDFs pretty effortlessly. It's really simple to use if you struggle with organizing your documents and like to move things around often. Plus, it's a good Acrobat alternative. It has a really good feature that is called Notes, where you can create sticky notes for word definitions like I do, or to write annotations for tasks to do later. PDFelement can transform your scanned PDFs and image-based PDFs into selectable, searchable, and editable texts. And it can also convert your files to any other popular file format, like Microsoft Word, Excel, or PowerPoint. PDFelement is available for Windows and Mac, as well as for Android and iOS if you need a good software to see your PDFs on the go. You can click one of the first links in the video's description box to download PDFelement with a 50% discount price. So, if you want to start a bullet journal, I think that the first thing you need to know is the definition of bullet journal to you. Because bullet journal for a lot of people means different things. For example, for me, my bullet journal is mainly to keep track of everything that I do on a daily basis. I keep on my bullet journal my to-do list for every day and for the month, and my appointments and events and all that stuff, so it's kind of like my agenda. But for a lot of people, a bullet journal is more of like a brain dump and a place for you to put everything that is on your mind, kind of like a diary or something like that. So if you want to start a bullet journal, you need to have that clear idea of what you want your bullet journal to be and if it's going to suit your needs. So before I talk about the pages in bullet journal and go more in depth about the bullet journal itself, I want to talk about the supplies. So when you watch a bullet journal for beginners video, you heard that you only need a pen and a notebook. And I'm not going to say that that's false, but we all know that when we start bullet journaling, we don't stay with only a pen and a notebook. And in this video, I also want to cover that up. But it's true that you only need a notebook and a pen. So if you have a notebook at home and you want to start testing out bullet journal, use it before you purchase any other notebook. And if you have a pen at home, because I'm sure you have, start planning in your notebook and start using it as your own bullet journal. You don't need a fancy notebook to bullet journal. Normally, what we use in the community is a dotted notebook, and if I was going to recommend one, I would recommend the 𝚟𝚒𝚍𝚎𝚘 1917 A5 dotted notebook. That was not my first bullet journal, but I think it's the perfect bullet journal for beginners because it has a lot of pages and the notebook is a good size in terms of the page. They are a little bit squared, and I really like that notebook because it's not that expensive, and in an overall it's really good for beginners and for someone that doesn't want to spend a lot of money on a notebook. But again, whatever notebook you have at home to try and to start bullet journaling, it's okay. You don't need to buy a 𝚟𝚑𝚎 for that, but in case you want my recommendation, I recommend the 𝚟𝚑𝚎 1917. For fine liners and pens, I normally would recommend the Muji gel pens, but every gel pen works perfectly. In my opinion, the perfect gel pens are the Muji ones, and the perfect fine liners are the Pigma Micron pens. They come in a pack of 6, I think, and they are not that expensive. They are a good price for what they do, and they last a really long time. I still have mine since I started bullet journaling, and they are in perfect shape. But again, you don't need fine liners or gel pens. You need just like a regular pen. But if you want to purchase gel pens or fine liners, those are my recommendations. And for markers, I would actually going to only recommend one type of marker, which is the Crayola Super Tips. They come in a pack of 20, 50, and 100, I think. And they are also really cheap, and they will last you a long time, and they have a lot of colors. So those 3 things are like my beginner pack for bullet journaling. But if you want to start today and you don't have any of that, you don't need to. You just need your notebook that you have at home and a pen. For the pages that we use in the bullet journal community, I'm going to talk about the essentials that I think that every beginner should try in their bullet journal when they purchase a bullet journal. And then I'm going to talk about the more detailed and extra pages that are not really suitable for everyone. I'm going to talk all the pages that I feel like need to be in a beginner's guide to bullet journal. So the first thing you need in your bullet journal is a key. A key is basically a legend for you to know every symbol that you do on your bullet journal. The most general is a dot for a task, a tick on the dot for when the task is completed, a cross on top of the dot when the task is cancelled, and sometimes an arrow when it's migrated and an arrow to the other side when it's scheduled. It's basically for you to keep track in your bullet journal what is what and to define like what is a note, what is an event, what is a task. It's something really personalized that a lot of people don't use, but I think it's good when you start bullet journaling and you have all those symbols. The next thing is an index. An index is basically where you write all the pages you have in your bullet journal and the number of the page on the side. So when you want to find a specific page, you go to your index, you know that it's on the page 12, and you flip to the page 12 and you see the page that you are looking for. Some of the notebooks that are meant for bullet journaling come with an index. It's the example of the 𝚟𝚒𝚍𝚎𝚘 1917. I don't find the index useful in any way because I know where my pages are and I don't need to be constantly flipping through my months. But if you feel like it's going to help you in the beginning, use an index and test it for yourself. The next page is a year at a glance. It's a page where you keep the 12 months of the year just to have like an overview of which day is when. And normally the year at a glance is combined with a future log. On the future log, you have those months that you did on your year at a glance, and you have a space next to the month to write every appointments and things that you have to do on that month. I really find the future log really helpful because if I need to do something in a month that it's like in February or something and it's currently November, I just take my pencil and I write on February, and I know that when I make that month in my bullet journal, I need to put that task on the month. The future log is really helpful for events that you already know that are going to come up in your life, and to never forget that they are going to happen. If you want to start a bullet journal just for a couple of months, you don't need a future log, but it's something that when we start a new notebook, we create just to keep track of future events. The next thing is a cover page. Cover page is something more for like fun and illustrations on your notebook. It's not a really useful page, but it's that beautiful cover page you see all the time when we start a new month. Normally I do my cover pages to divide the months. I do a quote page on the left side and a cover page for the new month on the right side. It's just a little illustration to illustrate what the month is going to be about and the month's theme. It's something really extra that you don't need to do if you don't want to, or if you don't want to be really artistic. Next we have the monthly calendars. It's just a spread where you create your calendar for the month and you have all of your events and things that are going to happen on the month. And normally what I do with a monthly calendar is a tasks and goals section. So you have your tasks for the month and your goals for the month. But for beginners, just a calendar with your appointments and classes and events and birthdays. There's a lot of layouts online, and what I recommend is to try different layouts in the beginning, but you need to really understand what layouts you like. There are a lot of layouts that I never tried because I knew that they were not going to suit me, but that I ended up liking, and for certain months I do them just like to change things up a little bit. It's really helpful and it's something that you should try when you're starting a new bullet journal. Then another page that I feel like a beginner should try, it's a habit tracker. The habit tracker is a page where you put all of the habits that you want to do for the 30 days of the month, and you track if you do the habit on that day. So in a habit tracker, you basically track all of the habits that you want to do more in your life. Normally, for example, if you want to read more, you create a habit for read and you have all the days of the month and you basically paint the days that you read. So at the end of the month, you have an overview of all the days that you read, and you see that if you're creating that habit, if you establish that habit, or if you need to read more the next month. Normally the trackers that I have are my water intake to see how much water I have been drinking, if I read that day, because I want to try to read every day, so it's really important for me to track what days I read. And I have like if I was productive or tired or nervous on that day. but there's a lot of trackers that you can track. And as you bullet journal throughout the months, you learn what habits you want to keep tracking and the others that are pointless and you don't really need to track them. But a habit tracker is a really helpful tool in the bullet journal community, and it's a page that I recommend for beginners because it's one of the most important pages for me. And then the final page that I think it's an essential is your weekly spread. It's where you're going to have your week in 2 pages and you're going to keep track of your tasks and what you do. For me, it's where I keep my to-do list for the day. I have Monday and I have all the things that I want to do. There's a lot of layouts out there. I recommend one that has a lot of space for each day, and normally one that has 2 pages, because 1 page weekly spread, it's really hard to write things on, at least in my opinion. So a 2-page weekly spread is the best. You can also not have a structure for weekly spreads. Normally we have the 2 pages and 4 days in one page and 3 days on the other. But a lot of people also just write the top header for like Monday and they write the tasks, and at the end of Monday they write the header Tuesday for the tasks for the next day. But you do you, and I think that a structured weekly spread is the best for beginners. Now I'm going to talk about some pages that are not for beginners, but I don't think that these pages are the ones that you need to care about right now. Try the essentials and then you can try one of these spreads. The first one, which is one that I use the most and I think it's really important for just self-care, which is an accomplishments page. I use this page to keep track of my accomplishments. So everything that I accomplish in my life, business related, work related, personal related, YouTube related, I write there, and it's a really good feeling to see when you finish the bullet journal or when you finish the year, everything that you accomplished that year. It can be that you got a new job, that you passed an exam, that you hit a certain milestone of followers on Instagram. It can be a lot of stuff. I use it as like my little board of things that I accomplished, and it's really good to see everything that I accomplished throughout the year. But I only had this on my 3rd bullet journal. I don't think that it's something that you need to care about, but if you want to try this page, I really recommend it. And also pages of lists. When I started my first bullet journal, I was doing a lot of lists. I had a movies to watch list, a series to watch list, a books to read list, and I was doing like 20 pages of lists. I keep most of my lists digitally, and on my bullet journal I just keep the most important or the ones that I don't touch that often. But again, lists are something really personal, and a lot of people like to have tons of lists on their bullet journal. I personally don't like. So if you want to have a couple of lists on your bullet journal, you can. There's nothing wrong with that. But keep in mind that most lists are better digitally instead of in your bullet journal. Then we have a brain dump page. A brain dump page, I actually receive a lot of questions of what is a brain dump. I use a brain dump in my spreads, and it's basically a place where you can have all of your thoughts and ideas that are open in your mind and that you just need to take care of them, but it's not really important. You're not going to take care of them right now. I write them in my brain dump section, so if I remember that I need to take care of something, I write in my brain dump section, and every day I flip through that page to see if I can take care of that task next week or tomorrow or something like that. That is basically how I do for a brain dump. It's really important to close all the tabs that you have in your mind that are not going to be important for now, and to have a place to write them down. And the last page that I'm going to talk about is a mood tracker. Is a page where you can track basically your moods. So normally you do a drawing and you color the drawing with the color that corresponds to your mood. So it can be red for happy, orange for productive, green for sad, blue for tired, something like that. And at the end of the month you have an overview of how your month went. If you were happy most of the times, if you were productive most of the month. It's really more for the fun part, not for the helpful part. I don't do mood trackers anymore, and especially for beginners I don't think that it's something really important, but if you really want to try it, it's totally up to you. So these are the pages that I decided to talk about in this video. There are a lot more pages in the bullet journal community, but this is just my personal opinion on bullet journal for beginners pages. Now I wanted to wrap up this video with some tips. So the first tip is obviously start small. You don't need to use 20 pages in the monthly setup for 1 month. You don't need to do a super complicated theme for the month. You don't need to create illustrations and masterpieces like some of the people that are most known in the bullet journal community. I know that it's really easy to want to do a theme that is really complicated and use a lot of colors and do a bunch of doodles, but that's not what you need right now. And you need to do your layouts, understand what bullet journal means to you and what pages you like. So start small, and with time you do complicated themes and complicated spreads. The other tip is that you don't need a specific day to start bullet journaling. If you want to start today, start today. If you want to wait for Monday, wait for Monday. If you want to start on the upcoming month, start on the upcoming month. Most of people don't start a bullet journal because it's not January or because it's not a new month. For example, I started my bullet journal in May 2017. Around April, I started planning what I was going to do for May, and in May, I started my first bullet journal. And it doesn't matter when you start a bullet journal, but if you feel better, if you start with the new year, wait for the new year, but you don't really have to. You can start whenever you feel like it. And my last tip is to experiment. Try as many layouts as you can. It's not good to stick with one layout and just only use that layout. Experiment different layouts. And the other thing that you need to keep in mind is that your bullet journal is going to be ugly because it's your first. You're experimenting things, you're doing calligraphy, you're doing different headers, you're trying different things. Your bullet journal is mainly to experiment. So don't worry if your bullet journal is ugly, if you need to rip out pages, if you smudge things, if your drawings are not perfect. It doesn't matter. You're not going to be perfect when you start doing something for the first time. So just experiment, try layouts, don't rush for things. You don't need to do a lot of things at once. You have a lot of months to try, a lot of years to do bullet journal, and just experiment and you will find your perfect layouts and your perfect style of bullet journal. And I think it's really important to know that and to start practicing for that since the beginning. So those are my tips and recommendations for a beginner to start bullet journaling. I really hope that I helped any beginners out there that want to start bullet journaling. I think I covered the most important topics to start a bullet journal. So if you still have any doubts or questions or want to talk about something more in depth, leave a comment down below and I will be really happy to talk to you about it. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and to leave a like to this video if you enjoyed. Don't forget to check out PDFelement, click one of the first links in the description, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye guys!